Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez, the founder of Alma Publishing, and I'm super excited to be interviewing our contributors in Uncensored, Untamed, Unleashed. Shawna Smith, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So you share in your story about seeds are sown, and I just love the way you open your chapter up. Will you talk a little bit about this whole correlation between trees and how we can see ourselves as women? I just think it's so beautiful.
It is. It's such a beautiful symbolism. And when I started studying like the feminine divine, heavenly mother, whatever you want to call that connection that we have to this really deep truth inside of us, I was guided to study trees. And the more that I've studied and learned about them over the years and in scriptures, in books, in symbolism, in life, there are just so many connections to that. And that's why I chose to open my chapter that way, because we really do, as women, connect. And I talk about that in the root systems and how healthy forests are nurturing each other. They're connected on multiple layers and levels. And that's really what a healthy community looks like. Women come together, and that's how we deal with stress. Our first inclination when we're under stress is to find someone to talk to.
Oh
So
my goodness. When I read that, I was like, yes, that is so true. It's the very first thing I do. Like, who can I talk to? I need to be with someone.
yes.
Amazing.
It is, and it's so powerful. And so to kind of think about that in terms of also the seeds that we plant and what are we growing, the fruits of our labors. And that was kind of what my chapter was about, was we planted many seeds along the way to harvest these amazing miracles later in my aunt's journey. And it's just to look at the world like that a little bit more and to say, okay, what seeds am I planting? What harvest do I really want? And
Mm,
how can I be that today?
mm. Yes, I love this connection. So let's do this. One of the things I grew up with, my parents would always tell me, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
This is something that will never change. It will always be true. And I loved how you said, what do you want that to be? It's sort of like starting with the end in mind.
Mhm.
How can people begin to pause, because it's so easy in our society? You go, you set a bigger goal, you want the next shiny thing, you want to right? What does it take
Yes.
to pause and to really ask ourselves, what is it that I want most, so that who I'm being today actually matches?
Yeah, this is a really important aspect of our feminine nature, because when you pull back, you create space, and the feminine is all about creating space. And we have this womb, it's a natural space for creation. So, this is really a natural gift that we have to do. And I like to bring it into my regular schedule, at least on a monthly. I mean, we already have a monthly reminder for most of us, and there's that space that's being given. So what are we observing? What changes are coming about? What are we seeing? So I actually put it in my calendar now. I say, okay, this is my week to observe, to
Mm,
just kind of look at what's happening in life and to not judge my schedule, to not judge myself, just to watch what is coming up, what is needing my time and attention, and to be in a place of observation. And I feel like that's the one key step that most of my clients are still missing. And most of the people that I talk to are still not creating space for, is that observation of themselves, of life, what is truly, really happening, instead of saying, I want it to be this, I want it to be that, like, here's what needs to get done. It's like, no, what's truly coming in? What's being invited into your space? And then to move forward with a plan on how to deal with that rather than constantly reacting to life.
mm, yes, because then it just becomes this sort of like a high adrenaline, nonstop, just a response. Okay, so I was so excited about your opening and all of the things you shared. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I started my journey a long time ago with massage therapy and personal training, and I just felt like I was always a healer. I was drawn to do healing in many different ways, and I've continued to study that. And then I was also very fascinated and wanted to prepare myself, especially for birth and all these things that have to do with women's health. And I started to notice I had a real gift and knack for women's health and helping with birth and labor. So I became a doula, and that worked together with everything else that I was doing. And then one of my real gifts and specialties has actually been guiding women through infertility because I can see these connections.
Mhm.
And as we work through that journey together, it's a really emotional and spiritual and mental and physically exhausting journey for a lot of people. And I'm just able to kind of see where we're starting and how we get to the result that they really need and are looking for. And so that's been one of my special gifts that I've been able to kind of apply all my healing knowledge towards for women.
Mm, it's so good. In your chapter, there was something you had mentioned, and I just loved how you said it. Um, it was along the lines of when your daughter had mentioned to you that she didn't want to shave her legs, and just how we're so trained in certain things and we don't even notice it's happening because it's just prevalent in our culture and society. I want you to speak a little bit to that about having that observation, that awareness to go, actually, this is a choice. Do I want to do this or not? What does that look like?
Yeah, I love that you bring this up because this is something I'm really passionate about. A lot of our perspective on how we carry ourselves and view ourselves in the world has been influenced by media and marketing, which we know now pretty clearly, but it's so deep we don't even realize. Like the shaving legs, that goes back 100 years. That's 100 years of marketing and programming. And for us to kind of be raised in a culture where it's normal, we forget that it is still a choice. If
Mhm.
it's something that's taking time and energy away from things that you would rather be doing, you have the choice. You're making that choice to still do that. And I remember this, like for me, I love to dress up, I love to look nice, but I have 5 little kids, and so there had to be this moment of reality for me. And I looked around at these beautiful women that are around me, my sister-in-law's friends, and they were so good at matching their clothes and accessories and all these other things, and we sat around once, and I remember the conversation turning to that and realizing that it took these women about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get ready every morning. And I
Mhm.
was like, that's where it is. I don't have that time because I don't choose to. That is
Mm.
not enough of a priority for me right now that I can sacrifice the other things I'm doing for and with my kids, for and with people that I'm healing, and the other things that I've placed as a higher priority. And so instead of saying, and judging myself for
Mm.
how I don't compare, I said, that's a choice, and I'm not making that choice. I'm actively doing something else with that time. And that's it just becomes more empowering as you start to do that. Look at all the things that you do and take stock of it and say, this is a choice. Do I realize it's a choice? Am I accepting that it's a choice? And then just that power of putting it in your life on purpose. And we do this with our health, especially when we go into appointments. And these are professionals and they've spent years studying their trade, and we put a lot of trust in that. But you've spent every single moment of your life in your body. And the truth is, nobody else is the expert. You're
Mm.
the expert of your body, and everything you do with it is a choice. And it really doesn't feel like that in our medical system, but that's something I feel really passionate about getting more out in the world is that it still is your choice.
So I gotta say something about this. I am so with you. And, you know, I was raised with a mother who did all of the alternative methods, right? So I never went to the doctor. I had never taken medication, never been on antibiotics, never done that track. And when I got pregnant with my boys at the very end of my pregnancy, when the home birth option was fading, and they were saying, no, you need to go to the hospital, I remember feeling that, like, yes, they have the letters behind their name. Yes, they have this knowledge, but no, they're actually not going to make the call for me. And how hard I had. I'm a woman in labor giving birth to my first child, and I had to fight for what I wanted. I had to be strong in that moment. And I could see how so many women would get just completely steamrolled.
Yeah.
So is this something that we have to practice and also just have awareness of, that this is what you could face?
Yeah, it's very much, I find that the education of it is the true preparation of choice.
Mm,
You really have to know what your choices are, and a lot of people don't until they're in the moment. And then they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize I'd have to make this decision here." So when I do my childbirth classes and these other things to prepare my moms, because I want them to know their choices all along the way. And we talk about that because we do have to prepare our generation. Our generation is more of a transition generation.
mhm,
And if we want our kids to know their choices, we need to be prepared to learn about them and to
mhm,
educate ourselves so that they at least know in that moment. And it becomes more of a choice because right now it is still very steamrolled. Even if you know your choices, you have to stand your ground and say, this is still what I'm doing, and I know it's going to be okay. And it is hard. It is a lot of, especially in labor, all the hormones in your body are already telling you to just surrender, to do what other people are
mhm,
saying, to listen to people outside of you. That's what helps bring your baby into your arms is those hormones. And it also makes you highly susceptible to suggestions. So if you don't have a firm support, and you aren't firmly like, yes, this is my choice and this is what I'm doing, it is really difficult. And that's where a lot of birth trauma comes from for moms. They come to me after they've had an experience like that where they did get steamrolled and they say, I don't like the way that felt and I don't want to do it again. What can I do now? And
mhm,
I wish we could do it a little bit more ahead of the game and say, this does happen and this is a reality for birth culture right now, but it is getting better. It is
mhm.
improving and it is softening, and more women are stepping up and saying, that wasn't the kind of birth I wanted, and I'm going to change that.
Yes, and that's always such a good thing. We
Yeah.
can identify, I want something different. I want something better. And I love what you said, soften into it, because that is going to be the absolute best for women and mothers. Mm. So tell us a little bit about this story of your aunt. I think this is one of the best parts of your chapter. So give it to us like they don't know anything.
Okay, so my aunt had actually been estranged from our family for about 16 years. She had isolated herself in Montana and chosen this perfect bowl of mountains around her. It was like so symbolic. And we ended up reconnecting, and she reached out because she just needed help. She had reached a point in her health journey that she couldn't do it all on her own anymore. And she was very chagrined reaching out and saying, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I need help and I don't know who else to turn to. And my mom was happy to step in and start helping her with the things that she needed. And I was living in Texas at the time, and she's in Montana. And I just kept getting that feeling that we get as women that she needed to be near me. And I had no idea how that was going to happen. She had been housebound for about 7 years
Mm,
or so. And so she wasn't even leaving her apartment. And I was like, how am I going to move her to Texas and convince her that she should be near this person she really hasn't known for
mm,
16 years? I was a small child when she left our family. And So we just continued to stay in touch. I wrote letters, I wrote emails, and sometimes we would talk on the phone. And after a few years, her health got worse and worse. And I understood what was going on in her body because that's what I do. I was like, she's just lonely, like she's
Mm,
isolated, and everything about her situation says she's alone and she doesn't want to be anymore.
mm,
And at that point, we had moved even further away to North Carolina. So now I was really like, how am I going to move her? And we all just prayed and fasted. And I was like, okay, she needs to be near me. And the only way to get her here is an absolute miracle.
mm,
So I studied miracles and I prayed for them, and I wanted to really understand what does that journey look like. And so we kind of made a plan A, B, C of how we'd get her across the United States. And luckily plan A held out. And we were able to just experience so much love and just being carried
mm,
through that journey of moving her near me. And we had 6 wonderful months together of connecting and her feeling her purpose and that she was important and that she did matter. And just so many family truths coming to light and so much healing happening during that time. And even though it didn't seem like a big window of time, it was really very powerful. And I just felt like I really wanted to share her story and honor her courage in making that journey and being part of those miracles.
mm. I, Shawna, you're just your heart. I could feel your heart in that. When you said you were studying miracles and just asking for it and surrounding her with so much love. Would you say this is one of the biggest missing ingredients in our society right now?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. As I learned about it, I was like, you know what? We are the source of the miracles, right? He always answers miracles through other people. Like the universe brings us all together, just like my metaphor of the tree. We're not alone. And it was through other people that those things happened because I was open and trusting and loving. And that's the real power of it. And we are missing that a lot.
Yes, bringing that back in, that connection. Shawna, where can people learn more about you?
So I have a website called spiritualchildbirth.com. And then I also have an app. There's a link to it in the end of my chapter. And this was where I kind of put my passion project of I really wanted to share all the tools that have helped me as a healer in a
Mm,
concise way that made sense for people. So I troubleshooted and worked through creating this app and was able to test that with a group of women. And it's just been really helpful for them saying, okay, whatever you're healing, whether it's hormones or food or whatever, like weight gain, weight loss, um, neck pain, back pain, it doesn't really matter. There are key elements in every healing journey, and that's what the app walks people through. So I wanted to put that out there.
amazing. Be sure and check that out. That sounds like an absolutely amazing tool for women. I want to remind people to pick up their copy of Uncensored, Untamed, Unleashed. It's available on Amazon. And be sure and check out Shawna Smith. Shawna, thank you so much for recognizing the gifts that you have and giving them so freely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And here's to that connection and bringing the love that we hold and bringing that into the world today. Like you said, we are the way miracles and love happen and how it spreads. All right. Until next time, have a beautiful day. Thank you, Shawna, so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.